star status, all that. I just want to get to the big leagues.
Yeah.
But all that was driven from that story I told myself at 14 years old. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. My dad doesn't love me. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. That's what was my why. My why was stronger because I wanted to achieve the acceptance and approval from my dad. But all this came at a steep price, man.
Yeah.
I had just received my third foreclosure notice on my farm. I had a $5 million horse farm. I was paying $35,000 of my own money out of my pocket just to keep this vision alive, just to try to help other people. After I walked away from my dream.
Yeah.
My 15-year marriage was falling apart, and then everything else in my personal life was rattling out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been so scared in my life.
Yeah.
I lost everything. So at that point in time, I got down on my knees out front of one of my houses. I had 3 houses at my farm, and asked the Lord to take my life because I couldn't go on no more. That pain was so severe, but I couldn't pinpoint where it came from.
Yeah,
because I had it for so long.
Was it the marriage or the things that happened financially?
The story.
But it comes back down to that story.
That's it. Led me to those decisions with all that stuff afterwards.
So we're in Mesa, right?
We are in Mesa.
Gosh, I'm excited to be here.
Mesa, Arizona, the hottest part of the year too, man. That's what's crazy.
We're burning up in there.
If you're gonna come at the worst part. Experience it.
If you're gonna do it, just do it. Do it right.
And it's hard to do in a motorhome too, because it seems to never just cool down.
Dude, this is crazy. Yeah. Everyone, first off, welcome to Think Like a Star. We're not on the bus, but we are in Mesa. And this isn't actually your place, but thanks for letting us come over here and hang out.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Dude, this is crazy. We literally met like a week ago. We started texting. Yep. Was it been a week?
Yeah. We met through a mutual friend, Bob Solomon, who's the author of Beyond the Laces children's book, and it's I'm excited, man,
now
because you're big time celeb, man.
I'm trying to keep up with you, dude. No, that was so fun to have you come to the show the other night and
it was a blast.
And meet the rest of the guys and see what we're doing. And I've been so excited. That probably the most frustrating thing thus far is that we've been talking and then dinner the other night. But I'm like, don't tell me. I want to hear your story, but I want to wait till we're rolling and we can share it with other people. So I'm excited. So you were saying that you grew up out here.
Yeah, I was actually born in Mesa, and when I was 3 months old, my family moved to Southern California.
That's right.
And then when I was 14, I moved back here to Mesa, and went to high school here and junior college.
Okay. At what point did you know you were all in for baseball? Or did it start off as just fun, like most kids? Did you have a parent that was really pushing you aggressively into it? Or was it just kind of fell into it for you?
Yeah, I think at 4 years old, man. You know how it is.
Out here in Arizona, I feel like it is.
I mean, it just, as a kid, it's not pressed, but I love sports. I love baseball. I played baseball in baseball season and soccer in soccer season.
Okay, yeah.
I wasn't super talented.
Okay.
But I just loved it. I think sports was my out. If I didn't have sports, I always say I'd probably be in jail or dead or alcoholic or something.
Yeah.
So it's
a constructive way to.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Saved my life.
Yeah. Did you have so I have an older brother. He actually lives out here in Chandler, and my brother's 9 years older than me, Luke, and he basically just kicked my butt my whole life. Never let me win anything. I remember one time I beat him in ping pong. I was maybe like 9 or 10, and he kept me up all night until I would play him again, and he beat me so that he could, end up. But that was maybe the only time, and it was, I don't know how I beat him. It was from sure pure luck. But knocking me down. When I was learning to walk, he would roll a basketball at me and knock me over like a bowling pin. And honestly, best thing that could have happened to me because it made me tough, and I got to see him be like the star basketball player in our little town. And so I remember going to the games and he'd hit the 3-pointers, and we get big crowds, even though it's a small place, because there's nothing else to do there. So it'd be like 3,000, 4,000 people at a high school basketball game. Awesome. So that was like so exciting. So for me, that's one thing that really motivated me. And I played soccer too, in baseball, but I was left-handed second baseman, so that didn't last long. But were you only child? Or?
I have 2 older brothers.
Oh, perfect. So
you're explaining my middle brother to the T, and we shared rooms, and he's 6'4.5", and it's just like you described me to the T. Yeah, the same thing. Yeah, and you know the song Toby Keith sings, "How Do You Like Me Now?"
How do you like me now? Yeah. because athletically they might have been kicking your butt then, but it worked out a little better for you.
Must be nice doing this. And now it's like y'all had the same opportunities as me, dude. But I worked when you're partying. You know what I mean? So they do that same thing, which was amazing for my developmental stages to get to where I was. I had obviously when I was a kid, I never knew I was going to get and achieve what I did achieve. But through that, and then all of a sudden I'm super big star or whatever playing, and they're like, "Hey, can you help me out?" I was like, "Really, dude?"
You weren't with me shooting in the gym.
I'll help you get a house, dude. But remember that time, dude?
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. So, what are your brothers up to now? Are they in Arizona still? Family?
I have one brother, my oldest brother, Brian. He's in Arizona here. He's a DPS officer, highway patrolman.
Oh, very cool.
And my middle brother, Eric, the one I was describing, he's in Utah. He's a geek, nerd. He's a programmer, designer, all that stuff. He's super rich, dude.
Yeah, that's a great career these days. That's amazing. So, you mentioned something, and you know my story from the other night. With, like you said, 10,000 hours, like we were talking earlier. For you, you said you worked, did you have a pretty insane work ethic?
Without a doubt.
What did that look like for you?
I had that why. I just wanted to be at the top, And I remember at my house in Mesa when I was high school, it's just down the street from here, I would just scrounge around the backyard and look for a PVC pipe, like irrigation pipe, and get a bed sheet, and I'd eat supper real quick inside, and I'd be outside and just be hitting the ball into that bed sheet. Just be hitting it off the tee, just hitting it. And my dad would peek out the door and be like laughing at me, oh, whatever, dude. They're like, well, you ain't buying me a net or something like that. See,
it's like Rocky. The guy's got the high-tech
I should have had the chickens, man. I didn't have the chickens.
You had the chickens, you would have been good. But isn't that funny? Because there's so many ways to make excuses for like, oh, I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the nice fancy shoes. Like, that's another funny thing. And my buddy Rob will laugh at this because he always has the coolest, nicest shoes. And I should have probably been more into that as a basketball player, but I was like, one, we didn't really have a lot of money, but two, like I just like functionality, like I had the same shoes and I'd wear them and they feel good on my feet. And it was all about like, oh, I'm just gonna go out and dribble and play, and I don't care if you got fancy or expensive shoes, like I'm gonna beat you because I spent more hours in the gym.
That's it.
And that was you. You didn't need the net, now they have I think what's it called, swing away, where you hit it and it goes around.
I think they have stuff where they'll swing it for you now.
Yeah, you don't even have to do it. It's a different time, man.
It's insane now. It's a different time. Yeah, that's how it was. And I mean, I would always be outside. I'd always be outside playing. I'd always be outside. That's what I try to preach to the kids and everybody I speak to is like, every successful person, there's only one thing in common, or two actually. They believe in themselves. Right?
They're on their own team.
You got to work hard. You got to work hard, and that's what's hard nowadays with the kids, with sports and stuff like that, because the technology and the coaching and all this other stuff, the money and everything that's going on with the sports industry, it's taking the love out of the game for the kids. I remember sitting in the dentist chair after school one day, and I knew I had practice that night at 4:30, and I was in a dentist chair at 3. I didn't look out in Southern California where it never rains and it starts raining. And I was like, no way. Like I'm tearing up, and the dentist thought it was like hurting my teeth. I was like, no, dude, we ain't practicing today.
I might not get to practice.
I
truly love the game.
Practice was canceled, dude. So I just go on the side of the house, and in the rain, just throw the ball against the wall. You know what I mean? I just always active, ADHD, OCD, whatever that is that they're trying to take away. You have to have it. Every successful person has it, and they're trying to take it away in schools. You know what I mean? So it's just it has to become an obsession to get to the top.
At what point did you start to have success as a baseball player, or no, like, okay, like I'm pretty good at this, and I might be able to make a living or go to college or that kind of thing? Was it early on, or
junior college?
Junior college. So you didn't even go to like a major like baseball school?
I wasn't good enough.
You didn't make any.
I was the #1 soccer player in Arizona.
Really?
The state of Arizona, best soccer player. I had opportunities to go play at Division I universities, and I had opportunities actually to play in Europe. But my dream as a kid was to play baseball. I was on the side of the house throwing a baseball against the wall. I wasn't kicking the soccer ball. I love soccer. I love different sports, but I was always with the baseball. I don't know why. It just that's how it was.
That's crazy.
And I walked on at the junior college. And the only reason why I made the team is because my work ethic. I was the first guy there and the last guy to leave every single day. And I just worked and worked. So when everybody else was partying, I was working. Saying it's too hot, I was working. You know, I'd ride my bike 15 miles to the school and work out, and then people would offer to give me a ride home in a pickup truck or whatever. I was like, no, I gotta ride my bike home. Because I'm not training my body, I'm training my mind. You know what I mean? So it's just an obsession. So which you can relate, right? It's just, and I wasn't that good.
It's so funny because I've been getting to talk to a lot of amazing people, even just in the last couple of weeks. And I was thinking about right now, like an NBA All-Star, a current NFL player, like very successful business people. And really, it's all so similar, and so it can be so simple. We like to complicate things, and I love learning like the Tony Robbins stuff that we're talking and these cutting-edge success principles. But really, it just comes down to wanting something, loving it, and working harder than everyone else, you know, and treating people good. But it's like, I see so many similar things in these people who have gone different ways, athletics, but also just business and nonprofits, these things. And so it's so cool. So here's my question for you. Did you ever get a point where you're like lost the passion? Because I know for me in college a few times, it was like, has become a job.
Junior college. I didn't even go to college. I wanted to go to Arizona State, but I wasn't good enough. But junior college was my last time I really had fun.
So I want to hear your story. I know. So right now at this point we're in junior college, and you outworked everyone and you're doing well. So where did it go from there?
See what happened is it happened just a little bit before that. And we can breeze through it, but this is what I use to go around and speak and share my story, because a lot of the stories that the youth, as you can see, are telling themselves isn't the true story of what they really are.
The story that they're writing for themselves is
and ingraining in their belief system at the subconscious level. So my story it starts out as I'm 14 years old and I'm sitting on my bed and my dad walks into my room. And he proceeds to tell me that he's going to uproot our family from beautiful Southern California to the hot desert of Arizona. And as my dad left the room that day at 14 years old, and this was between junior high and high school, 9th grade and the sophomore year of high school, these are big time
years.
Youth, adolescence years.
Yeah.
So as I reluctantly left all my friends that summer before my sophomore year of high school to move to the middle of Arizona in the desert in the middle of summer, I decided to become a little achiever through athletics. So I put my head down and I worked and I worked and I worked. And by the time I was 20 years old, I had already become the #1 soccer player in high school. And that's just because I worked and I loved it. Because Southern California has soccer, it's huge.
What position were you?
Forward.
Okay, so you were in goals.
I was loved. I loved it. I loved being
That's
forward.
That's the fun one,
And then after that, I walked on at the junior college here, Mesa Community College, and I quickly became the #1 baseball player in the state of Arizona. And
that's at like age 20?
Age 20, right before 20, 19 years old, 20 years old. And then with that being said, I was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the 10th round. Like that was my dream to be, as a child, to be a professional athlete.
So at 20?
At 20 years old.
20 years old, you're now a major league player.
No, it was at minor leagues.
Minor league, okay.
So you start in the minor leagues. But growing up in Southern California, I was a diehard Dodger fan. And when you're a diehard Dodger fan in the 1980s, you show up in the 3rd inning, you leave in the 7th inning, and you listen to Vince Scully on the radio so you can beat traffic. Because you don't want to get in traffic.
Oh, yeah, we know.
Because baseball is cool, but it ain't that cool.
Right?
So I always remember myself at the top of the stadium when I was a young kid and just looking down. I really didn't care about the players. I'd have my nachos in one hand, my chocolate malt in the other hand.
Maybe a Dodger dog?
I never had a Dodger dog.
Really?
I had one when I was in the big leagues, but I never had one when I was a kid. It's nachos. You know, when you're...
Do you have those garlic fries over there that they got?
No.
So the garlic fries are pretty good.
And malt, chocolate malt.
Okay.
That's it.
That was your thing.
So I'd listen to the crack of the bat, the smell of the grass, the aroma, the sound of the buzz of the stadium.
Baseball.
And I'd engage all my senses to make it become tangible, my dream, because I wanted to be down there one day. So with that being said, the reason I tell you that is because when I got drafted by the Red Sox in college, right, I tell all my friends and everybody else around me that I got drafted by the White Sox. They're the same team. My friends were like, dude, what are you talking about? White Sox? You got drafted by the Red Sox, dude.
Get your color right.
Like, seriously, dude? Like, you didn't even know. I didn't even know. I didn't even know who the Sox were. I was a Dodger fan, dude. And my response every single time was, I don't care what Sox it is. I'm going to the big leagues. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. So my first spring training, going to my first professional spring training, I was in the batting cage working. And the minor league director came up to me one day. The director of the whole minor leagues, who's the jefe. And he said, hey, son, come here, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, gosh, am I in trouble again, dude?
What I do now?
And I come over there and I say, yes, sir. And he says, son, you have all the makings to become a major leaguer and make millions and millions of dollars in the big leagues one day. And I was like, sweet. I was so green at it. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Like, I didn't really care about the star stat and all that. I just wanted to get to the big leagues. But all that was driven from that story I told myself at 14 years old. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. My dad doesn't love me. I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. That's what was my why. My why was stronger because I wanted to achieve the acceptance and approval from my dad. So the minor league director laid out this plan, and I put my head down and I worked my tail off, dude. And over the next 5 years in the minor leagues, I became player of the year 3 of the 5 years. Mind you, 2 years before I walked on at the junior college.
Yeah, you weren't good enough to
I
go
tore my
to
AC,
D1.
yeah, I tore my ACL one year, and then I was out half the season.
Okay.
And then
And you're right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
So was it hitting or
It was
sliding?
actually when I was catching. I made a fluke play, but it's just a freak accident.
Yeah.
And then I was playing so well the other year that I got called up to the next level halfway through the season. So there's 2 years I wasn't eligible to be player of the year on the team.
Oh, the 2 years that you didn't get it.
Or else I probably would have been player of the year 5 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of the spring training, after my 5th year in the minor leagues, I finally got my shot, dude. The manager says, you made the team. And I was on the starting lineup for the Boston Red Sox at 25 years old in 2001. And I was on the field in Baltimore, I remember it, and I was like, I did it. Like tears were coming down my face, and it's like, I'm here. I had no idea what I was doing. Like all I was doing was so focused because of that story I told myself.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be in the big leagues to have all this money and have this and that and be like, I didn't fit in that way. So over the next 7 memorable years of my life, from 2001 to 2007, I was a 2-time All-Star. I mean, those years are memorable.
Yeah.
I mean, I made $20 million.
Yeah.
And after my 7th year in the major leagues, I was sitting in my house down in Southern Gilbert, probably 15 minutes from here, with my son in my arms, my firstborn son. My 3 kids are adopted. My firstborn son, my pride and joy, on the couch. I was having a father-son moment. And I was looking into his eyes, and all I could see, like, how abundantly beautiful this boy was. And, like, I was so proud of him, how he's gonna have such a bright future. And he's just like, dude, like, this is it. Like, this is the chosen child. And I was just trying to connect with my just pure agape love and just show my love and admiration to him. And I couldn't. And all I can connect to was with that pain. That pain from that story I told myself. So at this point in time, I made a decision, like, I started becoming numb to everybody and everyone around me. And here I am, I just want to help people. I just want to change the world. I have this loving heart, and it's just like, and having so much success at the pinnacle of my career.
Yeah.
Like prime. I made a decision, and it proved to be the biggest decision of my life, man. With my son in my arms, I quit. I quit my one childhood dream. I worked so hard for all those hours on the side of the house and all that stuff. When everybody else was hanging out and partying, I was working and I was living it in the prime of my career at 32 years old. And I always told myself between 35 and 40 years old would be the best years of my career. So I probably would have made another 50 million or whatever. Like, it's just insane.
Easy, yeah.
So I convinced myself if I just come home to be a father to my 3 children, adopted children, because I love my kids so much. And open my second dream and my passion. That's what I tell the kids. You got to have a dream. You got to dream. You can't just have one. Just got whatever's inside you. They'll manifest if you just pursue it. I wanted to own a zoo. So you seen the movie?
Direction. Yeah.
You seen the movie? We Bought a Zoo.
No, I never saw it.
Yeah,
I need to see it.
With Matt Damon's in it. Like, I was watching it because it's animal, and I was like, oh crap, that's me.
Yeah.
Like
I'm the zoo guy.
and it wasn't filmed after me, or it wasn't. It was like that was my life.
Yeah.
So I quickly made the transition, becoming a professional athlete to an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I figured that if I just become an entrepreneur, I'll get it. I'll get my dad's approval because my dad was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
See, what happens is that Major League Baseball didn't do it. The fame didn't do it. The glory didn't do it. The money didn't do it. Man, I was making $350,000 every 2 weeks after taxes. I had 3 mansions, 6 cars, 300 pairs of shoes. I was flying private jets. I was living it. I was pimping it. I was it, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I remember a story of it when I was flying from Chandler Airport down the street here to Detroit, Michigan to the Ulster game. I was on the fastest civilian jet in the world, private jet. It's pimping. It's a Citation 10. See, what happens, a normal commercial airliner flies about 35,000 feet, 40,000 feet, and it goes about 450, 500 miles an hour if you're lucky. This jet, 10-passenger jet, takes off like a rocket. It flies at 64,000 feet, and it goes 640 miles an hour. I got from here to Detroit in 2 hours, dude.
Cruising.
And I was with the pilot, the co-pilot, myself. That's it, on this jet. On top of the world. Like, pip! And I'm sitting there like, looking out the window, I was like, I hate myself. I hate everything about this. I hate it. And that's kind of parallels to what you're talking about. Like, it just, I didn't love it anymore. I hated it. So as I made the transition from professional athlete to entrepreneur, I not only opened up one business, I opened up 3. So I had a great idea of buying a $5 million horse farm, and I had a feed store and a nonprofit foundation where I created a petting zoo. And I quickly became the guy who owned Marley Farms,
Okay.
and not the two-time All-Star in the big leagues that played for the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks. Like, 'cause that's what I was known for. That was my identity. I was, big.
Yeah.
And in over 4 years, I collected and adopted out, rescued and adopted out over 1,000 dogs. And I accumulated over 300 farm and exotic animals. I had camels, kangaroos, llamas, alpacas, a zonkey.
Were people just bringing them to you, or
I rescue them.
You would go find out where there's a
call.
Like,
Yeah, I'd go out, bro. Like I rescued raccoons from a track home. And
where did this passion? Because earlier in your story, the passion for animals come from. Yeah,
it was. I just loved animals all the time, but I could never have animals. Yeah, because we lived in the suburbs. Yeah, you know.
So and
it was absolutely insane. I had these animals, and they were abandoned, abused, and neglected, and I'd rehabilitate them with unconditional love. My ex-father-in-law, my father-in-law at the time, was a veterinarian, so he taught me a lot of tricks of the trade. So I administer all the medication, all this stuff, and to these animals, and all of a sudden I see their soul light up. I was like, okay, this one's ready. And they were all my staff. I had 15 employees. They're like, dude, this guy's crazy. No, put him out. He's ready. And I'd have inner city, disabled, and child crisis kids come out to my farm. Yeah. And these transform kids' lives on the spot. I have story. I could.
They can relate to animals. I went to one of those wolf ones where they talk about being a pack.
I've done that too.
It was really incredible, and the work they were talking about they do with kids was like really touching.
It's amazing. Like I was the first guy to ever hit a game-winning home run off Mariano Rivera. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like the all-time best closer ever.
Remember that?
At Fenway Park. I mean, I've played in 2 All-Star games. I've done so much stuff with baseball, but nothing compared to what happened at this farm with these kids. And but all this came at a steep price, man. Yeah. I had just received my 3rd foreclosure notice on my farm. I had a $5 million horse farm. I was paying $35,000 of my own money out of my pocket just to keep this vision alive, just to try to help other people. After I walked away from my dream. Yeah. My 15-year marriage was falling apart, and then everything else in my personal life was rattling out of control. Yeah. I mean, I've never been so scared in my life. Yeah. I lost everything. So at that point in time, I got down on my knees out front of one of my houses. I had 3 houses at my farm. And asked the Lord to take my life because I couldn't go on no more. My pain, that pain was so severe, but I couldn't pinpoint where it came from. Yeah, because I had it for so long. Was it the marriage or the things that happened financially? The story. But it comes back down to that story. Led me to those decisions with all that stuff afterwards. Yeah. That story, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me, I'm not lovable. And when you're obsessive compulsive and you got OCD, ADHD, all that, it just goes over and over and over and over and over. You know, there's average person every day has 60,000 thoughts go through their mind. 48,000 of those are negative. And when it's just like, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, and I'd go have more success, and I wasn't receiving what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So that was the first night that God, and this is not a spiritual thing, but this is part of it, God spoke to me in my dreams. It just said, pick up your cross and follow me. And I woke up, I thought I was hallucinating, I didn't know, I've never had that experience before. So I had nothing. I lost my farm, I lost my family, I lost my kids, everything. I hurt so bad. And I was living in a $1 million house in Southern Gilbert here with no electricity. My youngest son, who you'll meet here in a little bit, he would live with me. My other 2 kids didn't even want to live with me. And I quit baseball for them. Yeah. And it's just like, it was insane. I'd have to have candles sitting around my bed and around the house, because no electricity. And my son would be like, hey, Dad, we going camping tonight? And he thought it was cool. And here I am burnt up and crushed inside, because it's like I've made all this money and I had all the success and I've helped so many people, and my kids are going to school telling all their friends, my daddy plays for the Diamondbacks. Yeah. And I can't even keep the electricity on. The last $150,000 I had, I gave it away to help people out. So I was riding my son's bike once a week to go to church, 45 minutes each way, just to get a fix. I didn't know where to turn. So I went the spiritual route. I started hanging out with Christians, and I started going to church 3 or 4 times a week, and I started to find a balance between mind, body, and spirit. Because I never had to work on that before. Because if you could hit, it doesn't matter what you do. You can act any way you want. And you're a god. Because everybody treats you like a god. And that's not true. So I started speaking in churches, speaking in schools, speaking in prisons, all over, speaking engagements. I never knew ever, because I'm the most shy guy ever. I never thought it'd be terrifying than going. It was insane, dude. But it was stadium. Like it was cool, man. And everybody come up to me afterwards, like, you know, you could relate to what you do. Like, man, what you just did was amazing, this and that. But I would go home at night, and I still had that pain. That was still there, prevalent. And I was so confused because baseball didn't do it to help it out. Having my horse farm, my animals, my second job didn't help it out, and God didn't help it out.
Yeah.
So I really realized that I was just putting a Band-Aid on it, even the spiritual route.
Yeah.
Because that story I told myself. I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me. I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me. It just ruined me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any vehicles or anything like that, but I was able to raise enough funds to buy a van, and I was actually living in a van 4 years ago. And in this van, I found myself at 3 o'clock in the morning in front of my ex-wife's house with my 3 children inside. And at that point in time, I had already taken 15 sleeping pills, 8 ibuprofen 800s, and I don't know how many drinks of alcohol. Not to do anything to myself, but just to numb that pain.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Here are lie guys on the floor of this van that so many people envied. Everybody envied me. Everybody wanted to be me.
Yeah.
And here I was just motionless. As a soul is leaving the top of my head, all I could think about is that guilt and shame and how you're a loser. What would my parents think if I left this world today? What kind of dad would do this to his kid? Dude, you just quit the game for your kid. Now you're doing this? Really? You're a scum. Just do it. Just let go. You might as well just die. That's what my mind was telling myself.
Yeah.
So I let go. I didn't know if I fell asleep or if I died. I just let go. Here I'm living in a van. And it was crazy. And then the next morning, right when the sun came up, it peered through the front windshield of my van, and it went right into my eyes, and it woke me up. And as I came to, with the sun in my eyes on the floor of this van, I really realized I didn't have any side effects. Didn't have any stomach ache, didn't have any headache, didn't have anything ill effects to my body physically.
Yeah.
And it was an aha moment for me.
Yeah.
Because what I did the night before with the concoction of pills I took and the alcohol, I should have either been in the hospital or dead.
Yeah.
I'm saying that just 100%.
Yeah.
And it was an aha moment. And the first thought after that was,
Not supposed to be.
where's my horse? This is 4 years after I sold my farm. Where's my horse?
Yeah.
God's honest truth.
Yeah.
And when I thought about this horse, I had a good feeling because it brought back good memories.
Yeah.
And I started to try to ride that good feeling because I was lost. I was on my death. I was like gone. And this wasn't just any horse. See, when you get to the top of your game, when you get to the top, you always have a first purchase.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
some people buy their mama a house. Some people buy themselves a house. Some people buy themselves a car or whatever. I bought a horse.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in Southern California, I always wanted a horse. My parents never gave me one. So I bought a horse and named it Coors Light, CL. So
and that was your first?
That was my first purchase in the big leagues. And I was like, where's my horse?
How much does a good horse go for?
Well, this horse was only $4,000. It was just a ranch horse.
Oh, I didn't know it was
just like a pet.
$1 million horse. I don't know how
No, it was
much
just like a
horses
pet.
are. Okay.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That's
So I
so
reached
funny.
out to my friend that day because I wanted to ride this feeling. Like, I wonder where my horse is because it distract my mind. And I said, hey, buddy, do you know where my horse is? Can you help me find it? He's like, what horse, Shea? You had 56 horses. I was like, no, the horse. CL.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll try to find it for you. I'll get back to you. So I remember it. He called me back that night. He's like, dude, I found your horse. And I said, cool, man. He's like, reach out to this person on Facebook. Because I hadn't access to nothing. I didn't go back to my house that night. I went back to my van by myself. Talk about humiliating, man. It was horrible. And I reached out to this person. I remember asking my friends, like, what's the last name? And he told me the last name so I could find it on Facebook. And I remember that person vaguely at the farm and at the feed store or whatever, yada, yada. And I reached out to the person. I said, do you have my horse? And the person freaked out. And the reason why the person freaked out is because if you adopted an animal from me at my farm, so you adopted one of my animals, I'd have you sign a contract. And in that contract that you sign, I have first right of refusal to where if you can't keep that animal, I get the animal back.
Yeah.
And the person freaked out.
That you're going to take?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the day before,
You just want to ride.
this is 4 years after I sold the farm.
Yeah.
And you're telling me things aren't meant to happen.
Yeah.
That person freaked out because he sent the horse the day before to Utah because that person was going through some troubles in their marriage. And that person didn't only prove to be, I'd lay in bed every night. It's like, I wish God would just give me that one person that I know she's out there. So that person that had my horse didn't only prove to be the woman of my dreams, but the mother. I just wanted to have someone to be a mother to my kids because they deserved it.
Yeah.
And I took that woman's hand in marriage. It's my wife today. And it's just like, the last person to believe in me, the last person to like she's a total nerd, she's a genius, she's smart, she's successful, she's, in the real world where I came from, like she'd be like a sugar mama or whatever, but it ain't that case, you know what I mean? But she just held me accountable, she supported me, she saw something in me that was insane, and she'd bring me back. You know what I mean? She'd support me, she'd help me out, she'd do this stuff. I was so far gone mentally because that story I told myself. at 14 years old. I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. So whenever I go to church, whenever I do anything, any of that stuff, I wasn't able to do anything because my belief system was so strong with that conviction, I wouldn't let anything in. And when you get on top of the world, you put walls up and you don't let anybody in. And it's just like you're just screaming little boy. And there's so many athletes and so many entertainers, professional people that can relate to that. That I just hope I can just maybe help one person with my story.
Yeah.
So I start speaking in schools again and churches and all that stuff. And I still go home at night, sleep next to my soulmate after we got married, and had that pain inside. Like, huh. Seriously, dude? Like,
yeah.
It was still a little bit there. I mean, it was gone, most of it. I was like, dude, I've done all this. I've done this. I've done everything. You know, I did all the Tony Robbins stuff. I've done this. Self-help. I worked so hard on myself, and it was still there. So I remember getting up out of my bed, and I go into my closet. I close my door in my closet in my bedroom, and I'm like throwing stuff in my closet, like I throwing a temper tantrum. Like, what do I gotta do, man? So I finally went to bed, and I got up the next day, went on the front porch, and I have to do social media stuff. I don't really like it because I'd rather be out in the field. And I was going through Facebook, and I saw this ad. You know those ads that say these programs, buy this program, 4 steps of this. And I went across this program from this pretty little preppy guy in Southern California. It said, tell your story in 4 steps. And I was like, huh? Cool. Dude, I tell my story everywhere, but it just ain't doing what I think it could do. Yeah. So I spent my last $150,000, $150, not $150,000. Yeah, so this is an expensive course. $150 on this course, and I bought it, and it took me back to the first step. And at 41 years old, after everything I had success, everything I've done, I had an instant. See, what happens with a breakthrough in time? A breakthrough happens, it's a moment in time. People say it takes 10 years, 5 years. It's just a moment of time, an instant moment of realization. Right? Yeah, that I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, because the first part of the story is the call. What happened in your life where it goes, where everything's going good, all of a sudden it goes bad. And it takes me back to where I'm 14 years old and I'm sitting on my bed and my dad walks into my room. And I at 41 years old, I sit there and say, no way. I fell down on my knees and like 1,000,000 pounds of unworthiness came off my shoulders and tears like Niagara Falls were going down my face. It's like, see what happened, my dad loved California so much and the family loved it. I found this out later in life. They didn't want to move. They wanted to stay there. But they sacrificed the whole family for me because my dad saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself to give me the best chance to become a major leaguer to come to Arizona. And
so
I was
the
like,
story you were telling yourself was completely wrong from what really happened.
And the story these kids tell themselves, and the story a lot of people tell themselves, isn't true. But if you say it so much and it over and over and over, just like with you, what you do, what you master with basketball, myself with baseball, it just becomes repetition. It becomes a habit. And when something becomes a habit, your mind turns it over to your body because your body actually knows it more than your mind. So once you say it enough, you don't even think about it because it's in your subconscious level and it creates your belief system. So whenever I go to church or whatever, do these things, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. No one loves me. Yeah. And right there, instantly, boom, had a breakthrough. So with that being said, I was able to talk to my dad. My dad, God bless his soul, he died like 3 months ago, but I was able to talk to him before he died, and I set him free. Because he struggled his whole life from like 5 years old to 75 years old. He dealt with what I dealt with and trying to break that generation cycle of just this crap in my family has been the biggest accomplishment.
He had a bad self-story as well, you're saying.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And he never drank. He never did anything because his parents had troubles with that stuff, so he didn't want to do it, so he had nothing to mask it with. He didn't have baseball. I had baseball to mask it with. You know what I mean? So I realized that I didn't have to drink to get my parents' approval. I didn't have to make the money. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. Anything. They loved me unconditionally. And with that being said, I am set on a mission, as you are. And I want to help transform people. I want to change the world. I want to help people. And the thing is, I couldn't help anybody. I can't help anybody. I had to start with me. Yeah. So with me being able to share my story and with my background, with what I've done, hopefully I can reach somebody to be able to make a difference. And that's where we are today. It's
incredible,
awesome,
man. It's so incredible, and your passion is just absolutely contagious. I'm over here trying not to cry and get emotional. Man, there's so many cool things in that, and we were talking earlier about this quote that we love on the drive here, actually, me and my guys, and it's where your thoughts go, your energy flows. And this thing of this story that we tell us, and the gentleman I sat down with earlier, who I'm going to introduce you to, Ian, the spiritual gangster, who's amazing. He was telling us, you got to get on your own team. If you aren't on your own team, then who is going to be on your own team? And especially in those ages, those teenagers and those those early years, we tell ourselves the story of who we are, and it sticks with us for a lot of people for the rest of their lives, and we don't even know that we're saying like, you know, I'm not good enough, people don't love me, but we have all these thoughts and this cycle, you know, in our subconscious of like negative is just, you know, it's just so destructive, and so it's that the whole time I'm hearing your story, I'm like, well, how did he turn the corner? Like, what is going to be the realization? And you've had all these things, and you looked into all these other places, some good. You know, I think baseball can definitely be a good thing. The alcohol or the drugs, obviously, probably not the most constructive thing, but it's a program that came across, you know, the page. There's a thing that opens you up to realize that, and I just think you never know where that might be. It might be the homeless guy who does the design for your logo thing. Like, you don't. I feel like you can learn something from anybody, and I loved one thing that I want to retouch on your story. And my buddy T, he got to experience this with me. As I learned to tell my story, I realized that there was one person that played a pivotal role in my life that I never realized before. And I told you guys at that event the other night that I would go early to school every day and practice. Well, there was a janitor named Larry, and Larry was an older gentleman, and he'd been at the school a long time, and he wasn't treated very well by kids at the school because he was the janitor, and for some reason people don't always respect that. But Larry would open up the gym for me every day. So in order for me to get my swings in, which was shooting and dribbling, it was because Larry. And Larry got to open up the doors for me to go and do all these cool things that you know, that aren't typical to people from where I'm from and how I grew up, and I got to have an amazing experience of going back to my high school to speak when I first started this, and Larry was still at the school. He
was.
And so I got to orchestrate this thing where he didn't know that I was going to be there, and I honestly didn't know if he would even remember me, you know, because I would thank him, like, thanks, man, but it was just like, I didn't think I was anyone that he remember, and so I got to do this speech, and it was one of my first ones, and it wasn't that great. It was okay, but I was honest, you know, and vulnerable and that kind of thing. But I got to have Larry, I got to call him out in front of everyone and tell how all these cool things have happened in my life, but none of it would have happened if it wasn't for one person, one adult, taking an interest in me, giving me a little bit of time, and going out of their way to radically change the course of my life. And I remember he came up on stage, and it was a very emotional moment, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he goes, I remember those days, Jesse. Those were good times. And it was just like, it just ripped out my heart. I have some pictures from the experience.
That's so cool.
But when you were telling your story, and the takeaway from that for me is like, you never know how one small thing can impact someone, whether it's just a simple conversation, a phone call, an email, taking an interest in the cashier at your restaurant or whatever. Like, you never know. And that's something like, I'm very outgoing and like to talk to people, but sometimes I don't want to talk to anyone because I have to be on all the time in the cameras and the people and the kids. And sometimes you just like, it sounds like those walls that you had up when you're on this elevated status and you're on the private jets and doing these things where it's like people want to use you and they're coming after your money, and so you're always you become kind of leery of these different situations. But like, if you can just be a sincere, caring person, you never know like the difference you can make. And so it's so exciting to me to see these cool things that you're doing now with your foundation, with your speaking, with your passion, and all the impact that you're going to have on people all over the world with what you're doing. But it can be so simple for anyone watching. It's just starting with one person that you see at Subway or that kind of thing.
That's it.
But your Larry, one of your Larrys, was this, not the commissioner, but the minor league director.
Yep.
Why do you think he took an interest in you? And not only was it that, because if he just came into you and said, hey, you have all this potential, that would have been almost enough and cool enough. But it sounds like he also was like, here's what you need to do for training. Here's the people you need to meet. Here's how you need to eat. Here's how you need to approach the thing. Why do you think that he did that? Was it just a guy took an interest in you and liked you, or I don't know.
That's a two-edged sword there, because obviously it's a business. So he was part of drafting me.
Yeah.
The process of getting me there, so they want to get their guys, and so they're for credibility. But most importantly is that he's a real genuine person. I actually quit one of the years, and he told me, I think you're making a big decision. And this is after I got Player of the Year my first year. He said, I think you're making a bad decision. If you ever want to come back, you can come back. So I called him like at 3 a.m, like after a week after spring training. So I said, hey, can I come back? He said, yeah, come on back. You know, so it's the same guy.
Yeah.
So it's just the genuineness, you know, and the story that comes up to myself is I help Canadian teams right now from British Columbia, and I went to Las Vegas to help 11-year-old group, and that's my favorite group. I love pouring into the kids, whatever, yada yada yada. They don't have any much. I'm sure it's the same way up there with y'all. They don't have a voice. They don't think they're good enough, and they're really polite. They're respectful. They work hard. They're like they're the perfect example of a kid.
The nicest.
But they don't think they're as good as American kids because they're always in the snow and up north and all that. So I was like, I got to connect with these kids. I got to connect. So I just got the kids around one day in a dugout, 11-year-old kids, and I said, hey guys, if ever at any point in time a coach, because out here coaches are nuts in Arizona, if a coach ever yells at you or says anything you don't like or tries to degrade you, just tell them to zip it.
Yeah.
And the kids look at me like your dog looks at you like,
yeah.
You're like, what? We can't say that, coach.
Yeah, we can't
I was like, just say zip it, dude.
Yeah.
Just say zip it. I didn't even know where I was going with it. So needless to say, by the end of the week, because it's a week-long process, experience, the only coach there telling to zip it is myself.
Yeah, so
they
really
come off the field and I'm like, hey dude, good job, dude. Like, coach, zip it, coach.
Yeah.
You know. But I was like, you know, there's something to this, because it's not really disrespectful. It's just like kind of funny and hey, zip it, you know, whatever, just to give the kids a voice. You know what I mean? Because you have to have a ton of confidence playing baseball. Yeah. It's a #1 confidence crusher. So by the end of the week,
because the best are only hitting it 3 out of 10 times.
I hit 300 for the Diamondbacks in 2004, and only 5 guys in each league, American League, National League, do it. And I did it, and you're like, failing 7 times.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
So crazy. Yeah,
it's insane.
baseball.
So one of the moms came up to me. We had a young boy's name is Joss, Joss, and from British Columbia area, Western Canada, and he was kind of overweight. He had challenges with his weight. He couldn't like bend down for the balls at first base, but this kid had a great spirit, great kid. I mean, I could see like he's not supposed to be that. Something's telling him this. Yeah. So his story. Yeah. So the mom kept bugging me all week. Can you talk to Josh? Talk to Josh. Talk to Josh, because she's like on the last ditch effort. Like please, like just crying. I'm like, no, don't pressure me, because I got to let something manifest. So the very last day, I caught him on the field, and the kids are on the bus getting ready to leave, and I start talking to this kid. I say, hey Josh, but I had to create rapport first, right? You know, I had to get connection and zip it and all this stuff, and I said, hey Josh, you don't feel like when you came down here, you don't feel like you fit in, did you? And this kid just lost it. I was like, oh crap, I just messed this kid up. Yeah. Please stop. This kid is like, he's crying so hysterically that he couldn't. And I was like, what did I just do? And I was like, wait, chill. I said, you don't think you fit in because of your weight, right? He's like, yeah, no. I was like, you're wrong. I said, you don't fit in because like you're not one of those, like you're so set apart, like you're a leader. And I was telling the truth, because I could see in this kid's eyes. Yeah. And I was like, you get bullied at school, right? And he gets worse, and I'm like, oh gosh.
I was saying all the wrong things.
Yeah. And it was cool because he opened up and let me in. Yeah. Right? So that's why he was crying. Yeah. So I said, what do you think you could say to the kids at school? All this stuff was just coming to me, like being downloaded right then. I didn't know what I was saying, dude. It was cool. It was so insane. Yeah. And he's like, these kids are nice. He's like, tell them it's not nice. I was like, no, dude. Yeah. Tell them to zip it.
Yes.
And I was like, that's why I was said. He's like, instantly.
Yeah. So, light bulb moment.
Yeah. I said, even most importantly, Josh, when you go home at night and when you lay in bed and say that you're fat and you're no good and you're a loser and you're this, because he's such a kind kid, and you want to go take those Oreos and eat in your bed to numb the pain, because when you eat it releases a dopamine and dude, Josh, I've done this stuff, you know, and that's why I was there. I don't care about the baseball. And I was like, what? And when you're telling yourself all this stuff, and what do you think you could tell yourself at night? You tell yourself those thoughts. Yeah. He says, zip it? I'm like, yes. You have something to combat. And I said, even most importantly, this is the first time you've heard it from me, so you have a correlation. When you say zip it, you're going to think of me. And you're going to think of me standing here as a 2-time All-Star in the major leagues, have my arm around you, say, Josh, dude, looking you in the eyes and say, dude, I believe in you. Yeah. And you could do it. Yeah. And this kid, it was like a beautiful moment. And he just left.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Camp's over.
Hopefully it worked.
Zip it.
I came back. I was like, see you later, dude. Zip.
Yeah.
So his mom called me 2 months later. After that, she's like, I don't know what you said to my kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I ruin him? Because I told. She's like, you changed his life. He went home and he lost 20 pounds on his own. By the story of transforming and connecting and understanding on his own. He started, not mom, everybody's been trying to, on his own, getting up and going to work and putting his log on the refrigerator and all that stuff. And now that he lost weight, he's feeling better about himself, and he wanted to come down to Arizona now. Because his Canadian group goes to Las Vegas and Arizona, goes around these different experiences. He wanted to come to Arizona. So the mom called the head guy, the Canadian guy that running the team, and said, hey, Josh wants to go. And the head guy leading it was really nice. He says, he's welcome to come, but he probably won't play because it's a big investment, and his other kid kind of competitive because of the way his performance was before, which was honest. You know what I mean? I don't want you to come down and expect to play, but you're more than welcome to come down. And the mom went to Josh and told him that, and he says, I want to go see Shea. So he came down and he walked on the field, and then none of them have seen him since because he lived in a different town. And they're like, what happened to him? Needless to say, this kid played every inning of the whole tournament. He stole bases for the first time. He was getting hits. Mom's crying in the stands. All this stuff. She's like, "What can we do? What could do? Like, you saved my kid's life." I was like, "No, I didn't, dude. I just told him to zip it, dude."
I just told him to start.
So I want to create a slogan: #ZipIt, man, for the kids. So we go do the siblings like, "Zip it, dude."
That needs to become the thing.
So it's the thought, the bully. So real quick, let me finish it. So I said, we're doing this stuff in Mexico. I'm starting a baseball academy with these kids. They have no equipment, this and that, whatever. And I said, I don't know. I have the hardest time asking people for help, whatever. I said, I don't know if you could think of anything. So she created a campaign. The mom and Josh created a campaign. Her name is Deborah, a Glove with Love campaign in Canada with Canadian people, with me from the United States, and then helping kids from Mexico. Like 3 different countries. They collected 120 baseball gloves, all this baseball equipment. They sent down 7 huge totes to my house. But the big thing was each one of these baseball gloves had a baseball in it, and it had a note written to the kids down there of like inspiration. So now this kid that everybody wanted to just kind of push off to the side, Josh, because he's just Josh, whatever. This and that. This is how it goes. Just kind of say something to him. Now this kid is affecting hundreds of kids' lives in a totally different country. So we created this Glove for Love campaign and just helping it. That's beautiful. The coolest part of what I do. And it's amazing. She sent a picture of him sitting on all these gloves with him. And it's like, here's a kid that was bullied and all this stuff, and just change his story and work towards a new story, new goals. And that's the outcome. Not him having success and going to school or like changing other kid. That's what it's about, man. It was cool.
That story is so powerful of your own story, what you tell yourself. So how does someone who is telling themselves a bad self story change that? I mean, how would you say, is it I don't know, is it as simple as, all right, zip it, I'm going to not have negative thoughts, because it took you years and trying different things to figure it out. So when you are talking to kids or just people in general, is it different on a case-by-case basis, or do you have like kind of a thought process that you work with people to help them rewrite a positive self-story that can be empowering and help them see the beauty in their situation, and instead of being a victim, being like the victor in the situation? How would you recommend that to someone?
See, we've been created to survive. You have to choose to be happy. And our body has limitations, but the mind doesn't. And what I've learned is I didn't have to. I've trained my mind so much to hit a baseball. I could hit a baseball in my sleep and do all that stuff, right? Where I didn't know how to work on that character because it went so long. I want to go there because it hurt so bad and I didn't know what to do. I thought this is how I was. So the biggest thing is it's just this, the Tony Robbins stuff. It's just positive. It's thinking and being in the spirit of gratitude. And that's what's tough about us here in the States, because we're so spoiled, and fear and self-doubt and all that stuff, they cannot be present. It's not possible if you're in a present spirit or a present state of gratitude. So I get up there. I have to work hard every day. I get up every day. I do the cold plunge, and I go on a walk. I do the positive thinking and or the gratitude, and I send out love to people around me. I'm just training my mind. Like I've always trained my body. And I train my mind to do specific stuff with baseball, but not to be happy. I was never happy. So I was unhappy my whole career. I hated it. I was on top of the world. I hated it with a passion. The
Yeah.
one thing I loved so much, I hated it.
Yeah.
You know? So the thing is this.
Were you grateful? Do you feel like when you were on top with as far as your baseball career, like where you it's like I don't know how to. I mean, what is that?
I never once sat there and said,
Like,
dude,
this is
I'm a
crazy.
millionaire.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah,
once.
yeah,
Never
yeah,
once.
yeah.
Like I'm a millionaire. Like
Yeah.
cool. I was like cool. Like it's just like you know how it is. You do it
Yeah.
so much you just expect it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do you ever think that you'd be doing commercials and movies and stuff? Like it's just like it's a different thing to where like
Yeah.
I started out going into that with that pain that drove me. I just wanted my dad to love me, Dad.
So when you were all-star, you know, these amazing things in your career happening, you got all these houses, cars, shoes. What was your relationship? I'm just curious with like your dad during that time.
I didn't have
You didn't.
in the relationship period. I cut my parents out of my whole career, and I have to wake up every single day for the rest of my life dealing with that. The only people that believed in me.
Yeah.
And when I was at the Ulster game, I was telling you about in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
I had my posse there, my entourage, my family, my in-laws, my family, which is my in-laws and all that stuff, and not my parents. The two parents that always trucked me around with the games. My dad used to order Domino's pizza, dude, in high school, like high school games, and from the stands. You know, he was like that crazy guy. Like it was like my friends remember
pizza
that.
afterwards.
Yeah, he's like, well, who orders a Domino's pizza during
Yeah.
the high school baseball game just to be the quirky? And I had all my friends there, everybody there doing the Major League Baseball experience, and here my parents sit at the top of the stadium, bought their own tickets to humiliate themselves so much. And my mom was talking about it actually the other day. And how she was grateful with the experience to see us, and she loved me, and I'm just like,
But you put them up in the.
they got their own tickets up
they got
there.
their own
I
tickets
didn't even
up
give
there.
my parents tickets to the game. I didn't put up on a hotel. They got their own hotel. They got all,
Were they reaching out to you like
the
at
whole
the
time. My dad wrote me a letter when I was playing, which was really hard for him to do, to reach out, you know.
Yeah.
I just opened it and just threw it in the trash. And I'm playing in the All-Star game in front of millions of people, and I look up and I'm like, I hate that guy. I can't believe, forget him, dude. That's stupid. Are you serious, dude? Like, it's just like, that's so far, and that's what a lot of professional entertainers, athletes.
That's
and
what
my
drove.
heart
That was your
hurts.
fuel and your fire. That's
It
what
was
drove
just
you to
like,
get there.
Yeah, so when I'm there, like I'm cashing $1 million checks and I'm doing all this stuff. I mean, I used to do autograph signings for an hour. Only 500 autographs you're allowed. I mean, I would sit to like you and stay afterwards and sign everybody in the parking lot. They give me $10,000 to sign for it, and like little girls would come up and be like, they're like I was Justin Bieber or something.
Yeah.
Like they're like just shaking. I'm like, dude, I'm like inside I'm
hit
a
a
piece of
ball.
crap.
Yeah.
And they hold signs in the stands like, will you marry me, Shea? Like I was God, man.
Yeah.
And it's like the furthest thing from the truth, and it's so relatable to so many people. So I want to help. I want to connect with these guys, because that's what, you know, that book is about, Beyond the Laces, is number 87, is utilizing this platform to change people's lives. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Like I've had everything I've ever could imagine. Like I've hung with the president, movie stars, all that stuff. WWE,
Which
Roddy
president?
Piper. It was actually George Bush Sr.
Okay.
He was in our clubhouse in Boston.
Okay.
I wish I could meet Barack Obama. I really liked him, man. He was pretty clean cut, man.
He's probably the coolest president.
He was like pimp,
Just
man.
cool
Like he was
points,
just clean, dude. And he had absolute power for sure. That's why everybody hated him.
Yeah.
But it was nothing. It's sad. And so many of us do that. And the hardest thing for an athlete to do, especially baseball, the hardest thing to do is reintegrate back into society when you're done playing. Because baseball is every night.
Yeah.
It's every night,
like,
every night, every night for 6 months.
I want to compare it to the
every night.
Marines, just out of like, I
It's-
don't want to make
without a
anyone
doubt.
mad, but I get it. It's so many games, and
there's life or death.
Yeah.
But ours is.
and then it's like coming back and being a civilian.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And I would do speaking engagements, and I'd have people from the CIA or people from the Marines or successful people, millionaires or whatever, come up to me afterwards, like, dude, what you say, the process of what you think is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm so, like, I can leave this interview today. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so content.
Dude,
but I'm on fire. Like, I'm using that passion and like.
The passion you had for baseball.
Yeah.
Now for something else. I totally.
And I thought it was
I'm on that
baseball. I
line
thought it
with
was like, I thought baseball was my gig. Like, that's my
this
past
is way
life,
more
dude.
fulfilling.
Like, it's just, like, that's when I started this gig down in Mexico, in Rocky, Puerto Penasco, Mexico. I'm just walking on the streets, like, dude, who can I help? And then my wife's like, don't talk to them. I was like, where's the cartel? They got the money, dude, or whatever. I want to, I don't care. Like seriously, God, if I die leaving today, like, I'm complete. Like, there's nothing this world can offer me more than what I'm experiencing now. Like, I'm so satisfied, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be able to say that.
Isn't that crazy?
Because I've been seeking it my whole life.
Well, if you hadn't gone through all these things,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't be able to share this story and impact people. And man, it's a powerful one. And I just want to say that I appreciate you opening up and being so vulnerable. And I think a lot of people can be impacted by your story. And I'm really thankful that you, that you were able to close that door with your dad and find out about that story, because you know you are good enough and you are loved, and I've known you for a short time, and I already see that and recognize that greatness that's just so much bigger and better than baseball could ever be. And I love you, man.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you.
Appreciate
I feel like I need to hug you right
Thanks,
now. And I want to ask you one kind of question. I think it can sum this up nice, because I know that the family's coming back from cheer practice and everything.
I'm a cheer dad now, dude.
Cheer dad.
What's up?
You get to go back in time, and you see the 14-year-old Shea, and you're on that bed. Your dad just walked out of the room, and he dropped that bomb on you that you're leaving, and you're starting to tell yourself that self-story. What would be the one thing that you would tell yourself, a 14-year-old Shea, to guide you in the next, rest of your childhood and onto adulthood? Or the thing that you'd want to pass along to other kids at that age that are going through something tough?
That's cool. I've done a lot of interviews, like a lot of ESP and all that. That's the best question I've ever had.
Well, I'm really good.
And the answer, you are good, dude. Like yeah, dude.
My mom gave me that one. My mom's like, hey, you should ask people that. And I thought about it, I'm like, gosh, Mom, you are really good.
Yeah.
And you don't want to listen to your mom,
Without a doubt. That's how my boys are. My kids are too.
That's really good. I want to hear that. And I feel like that was such a pivotal moment for you. Like, not everyone knows that exact moment, but you know it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
Mamba.
What I would tell myself, and most importantly, forget me because I'm nobody, is to learn how to communicate. Because communication is everything.
Yeah.
I didn't have to communicate, and I kept everything inside.
Yeah.
And I just stifled it, and I acted out. I wasn't really nice. I was the one that bullied. I was the one that spoke out. I was the one that got controversial. I mean, you Google my name in baseball, and it's like there's an image on the internet that says "do not want," and it's a picture of my face. That's a total opposite of who I am.
Yeah.
But that's what came out because I stifled it, and I didn't communicate, and I didn't know how to communicate my feelings. It's find somebody. A lot of times it's not your parents. And I'm dealing with it right now with my 12-year-old. Like, I'm out changing the world, I'm helping people out, and I'm having those struggles with my 12-year-old son that doesn't want to talk to me right now.
Yeah. Well, your dad, they don't want to listen to you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, there's people out there. You got to, because it's communication and it's understanding and it's constant work. You got to work. You got to work and work on yourself.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to be your own coach. You got to be you. The most important thing, and I heard it from Oprah, is the most important thing you should do, the number one priority, is to take care of yourself. Fill yourself up and keep yourself full.
Yeah.
You can't rely on anybody else to do that.
Yeah.
And that hit me hard because I always tried to help people and expect something in return because I was empty. And I'd help, and I'm giving away over $1 million. I've helped about houses, all that stuff, and everybody's like, "Cool, thanks, dude." Like they expect it, but that's not where I was coming from. I was like, "Well, don't you know what I just did for you?"
Yeah.
So I was wrong.
Yeah.
But now it's communication and understanding who you are.
Yeah. I love it. Write a positive self-story. Get on your own team, and get those positive thoughts going to be able to help other people. Dude,
and the biggest thing for myself is I raised my standards.
Yeah.
I wanted, after I got done baseball on the farm, I just wanted to, I sat parked for 5 years. I didn't want any help. I just wanted to pout and just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
Because I hurt so bad. I wanted to do that. And my standards lowered. And I started hanging around people that their standards were low. And I was the best in my group. Never be the best in your group. If you're the best person in your group, you need to have a new set of friends. Because and that's what was good about us being the younger brother. Because our older brother's always up. I was always playing up, playing up. Is that I always try to find, I'm really careful who I put around me now. I have a servant's heart. I want to help everybody, but I can't. Because it affects me. So I'm so blessed to have my wife, Kristen. Like she's like it's amazing. Yeah. So I put good people around me, and I just the dreams and the goals that I have and aspirations are so big that I have to rely on another source to take care of it. And if you have dreams and goals set so low that you can only do it, nothing else will happen to help everything manifest.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I do out of this world stuff the way I think, because I did it before. I lived it.
Yeah.
I know the formula to success.
Yeah.
I want to fly private jets again, not to be pimping, but to be able. I got to get from here to there because I want to change a life. I want to do these things. Have a personal masseuse. I want to go into minus 25 degrees, whatever stuff like y'all did today. I want to have that access. I want to have a personal chef. All that stuff. Not to be, but I want to feel it like, dude, I'm ready to go,
you can't help other people unless you're filled up.
Yeah,
well, you're ready.
That's it, bro.
Dude,
thank you so much, man.
And you are loved. You are good enough, and I appreciate you being here, man. This was incredible. I think we're gonna do a lot more of these.
Cool.
And I want to help you in any way I can, because I have the same passion as you, and I'm glad that we connected. I think it was meant to be. So
I'm super grateful for this opportunity.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, brother.